Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Ahoy! Pirates off the port bow! Deploy stability improvements! It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the Dolphin Emulator coming off of Steam, and then on Thursday we are watching Street Fighter, the movie from 1994, with special guest Tyler Schnupp. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. Can I ask you a question, Patrick?
Yeah.
Today I was driving around and there was a billboard for a Dave Matthews Band concert.
Sure.
And a picture flashed in my mind, and that picture was Jeremy Piven. Is that right? Does Dave Matthews look like Jeremy Piven?
Are you focusing just on like the hairline? Is that what you're? Also,
Maybe.
I'm picturing hairlines of both of these guys from 25 years
Right,
ago.
no, also true. Also true.
Let's see. Do I know what Dave Matthews looks like now? And do I know what Jeremy Piven looks like now?
Yeah, for me personally, I
Yeah.
think the answer to both of those questions is no. But from 20 years ago,
Possibly.
possibly.
Jeremy Piven's a more attractive man than Dave Matthews, right?
I would.
Don't
I'd have to
don't
look.
back away from the question, Mark.
I'd have to.
Don't leave me out
I would
here.
genuinely have to look it up because
This is
again,
unbelievable.
in my mind,
Leave me out to dry.
in my
here.
mind, I'm picturing Dave Matthews and Jeremy Piven looking identical.
Sure.
And so
They don't.
So how could I choose? Also was seeing that billboard, and it was
Yeah.
a sold out concert,
Mhm.
and it just made me think
Dave
like
Matthews or the Dave Matthews Band?
the Dave Matthews Band
Got it.
sold out concert, and it just made me think like, what an amazing life.
To just be doing that. Here's the thing, though. Do they still tour like at the same like density that they used?
I can't imagine that they do.
No, they can't possibly.
Yeah.
Right? Because they used to be like touring all the time.
It
They were
seemed
like
like
a
perpetually.
road band, right?
Yeah.
Like Fish or something that like people would follow them everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, they can't possibly. How old is Dave Matthews? Don't look it up. How old do you think Dave Matthews is?
I can't look it up because if I look it up, I'll see a picture,
Right, that's true.
and then
you'll-
I'll be forced to answer your question.
God, and then it'll just be Jeremy Piven. Mark, if you don't want to look up how old Dave Matthews is, you could go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where you can support us if you like. You can support us with money. And if you subscribe to us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to a fun mini-series that we are doing, that we are concluding, called NCS Detective Club, the finale of which comes out this Friday.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Columbo with special guest and friend of the show, Ryan Mogi. Really excited for that one.
Yeah, very excited to talk Columbo. We've not, Mark, you and I had not had the opportunity to like really dig into talking about what we like about that show and
Right.
about that character. And so this felt like a deep and cathartic thing to do together and to share with Ryan Mogi.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to share with everyone else. I'm very excited for that episode to hit the world.
There's also a bunch of other great rewards up there. So thank you so much to all of our supporters. And even if you're not a supporter, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, absolutely. We still count you as a supporter. Speaking of which, you can join our Discord. Email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
And you can get in on all the conversations that people are having in there about Nintendo stuff, about Zelda, about Tears of the Kingdom, and about everything else. Get in there. It's a good time and a great group of people. Mark, we've got a question here, or not a question, a comment, a little bit of a debug.
Okay.
An email from the Chariot Goblin. Chariot Goblin writes in and says, "Hey NCS, on your last episode regarding Nintendo 2023 predictions, you talked about a new Famicom Detective Club. I have 2 corrections. Correction number 1. The first game's subtitle is Missing Air, not Forgotten Air. That's my bad. I must have said the wrong name.
No, I it's only like I feel culpable because
you didn't call me on
because I didn't catch it.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's a collective miss on our part, especially for being such big fans of the series.
We got The Girl Who Stands Behind. That's the weirder title. We wrapped our brain around that one. And then correction number 2, there already is. So I was your prediction, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and it's sort of just like an ask, not like a serious prediction.
I don't think. Yeah,
you asked for a third Famicom Detective Club game.
it's like asking Santa Claus for something.
100%. But an even like bigger. This is like asking Santa Claus for like a toy that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
right?
it's like when I was like 7 years old or whatever. Maybe younger than that. Whenever Batman Returns came out, and like wanting for Christmas a contract for Warner Brothers to be Bat Kid.
Yeah, it's just like that. So there already is a third Famicom Detective Club game that was an exclusive for the Super Famicom Satellaview service. A remake and a localization of that would be neat. So this game is called BS Detective Club: The Past That Disappeared in the Snow.
Ooh, I love that title.
It's a great title. And I don't. I mean, I guess but you couldn't even like localize it. You would have to like truly. It just wouldn't be possible, right? Like the way those Satellaview games worked was that there would be like live broadcast voice acting and stuff like that in it. And it came out initially in like 3 chunks, and each chunk was about an hour long. So it's like much shorter than a normal Famicom Detective Club game actually would be. So like, I don't know. I feel like it stays in the sort of like permanent dustbin of Nintendo history, along with like the BS Zelda games that would be like fun to play, but like they just don't exist. Like the format doesn't exist anymore.
What a cool like pre-order bonus though, if they're like, hey, there's a new Famicom Detective Club game.
Yes.
And as a pre-order bonus,
right.
we like recreated
those
the past that disappeared in the snow. Yeah, using the engine from like the first 2 games or whatever.
Right. So it would be cool. It's hard to count that really as like the third game. Like, do we count BS The Legend of Zelda as Zelda 5 or 6, I guess? I mean, no, we don't. So I don't know. It is an interesting footnote in the Famicom Detective Club, history there. Chariot Goblin goes on. It's also worth noting that Mages, the developer behind the remakes, said that they would love to make a new Famicom Detective Club. However, they're currently going through some financial problems. So who knows? Thanks, and keep on keeping on. Thank you, Cherry Goblin, for that added context. I did not know that Mages was interested in making a new one of those games.
I mean, it doesn't, especially if they're having financial problems. I think what it reminds me of is when reporters ask an actor, like, do you want to be in a Marvel movie? And actors are like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like, why would I? Well, sure. Why would I say no to this
I'm an
right
actor.
now?
I like to get paid for acting.
And
paid to get in shape, frankly.
Truly the dream. But yeah, like I would love for them to make a new Famicom Detective Club game. And if they're in financial straits, this seems like the perfect opportunity for Nintendo to.
Okay, but does it though? Because like, there's a new Famicom Detective Club game can't make a lot of money, right?
No, but it seems like if
it's just like brand management for Nintendo, so they pay for it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So this is a win for Mages, and just sort of a Nintendo being Nintendo for Nintendo.
I mean, that it'd make me happy.
It would make me happy too.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Chariot Goblin.
All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week.
So before we get too deep into Zelda stuff,
yeah,
let's talk about, because you recently picked up a slew of those Aspire ports of Star Wars games.
This is an interesting topic, and I want to get to it. But first, we're gonna just like keep slotting things in before.
Okay.
Tetris 99 ticket update.
Okay. Dun 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 dun.
I don't know.
Okay, perfect.
I think
I'm glad we interrupted.
Yes. I just because here's what I wanted to say. That I've been so deep into Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, that I know I have played a little bit of Tetris 99, but feature of what we've been playing is it's not done, but like I'm gonna stop talking about it for a little while.
Okay.
So I just wanted to like put that out up front here.
Uh-huh.
A couple weeks here where I'm not going to be giving updates because the updates will embarrass me and frustrate you, the listener. So we're gonna stop it for a little
Okay,
while.
perfect. It'll be enough time for everybody to forget what the last count was.
Yes.
And then get back into it. I love it.
Yes, that's
This
exactly what I'm saying.
That I think is the perfect plan. Just how like I want to get like, let's say if I wanted to study a language, right, I would want to do it in secret so that way I could get really good at it and then present my finding.
See, the problem with learning a language though is that like you have to practice it.
Right. But like I don't have to practice it around friends.
I see.
And what I'm saying is like you can still accumulate your tickets.
Right.
And then at some point like throw out a really impressive number. We'll be like, wow.
I mean, I'll be honest, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to make very little progress in secret.
Understood.
Now I'd like to hear about your point about Star Wars games.
Yeah. So, Patrick, you recently purchased a lot of the Aspire, all of them?
All of them, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
it was a bundle that they were all in.
Ports of old Star Wars games, and one of those was Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of the show, Alana, posted in the Discord an update. So, you know, Knights of the Old Republic 2, developed by Obsidian, famously, like, came out not finished, basically. A ton of content was cut. And then later that content was restored on PCs as a mod. And when Knights of the Old Republic 2...
And one of my friends worked on that mod.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of my roommates in Chicago, Andrew.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
I think we talked about it at some point on this, but it's I'm not being like, I can't believe you don't remember this part. But yeah, like he put a lot of work into restoring that content.
That's amazing. I would love. This got me intrigued as to like the story of how that came about.
Yes.
Like, did Obsidian just like give people?
I don't know,
like
actually.
files or information, right? Because like, how do you go about restoring like deleted content?
Maybe they like had the whatever they had for the content, and then just like put it up on like the message boards or whatever. Because like this would have been in like the early days of the internet, like pre-Twitter for sure, and maybe even like pre-Reddit, like in an era where like people are on a message board that is just like on Obsidian's website or whatever. And then like put it together from there. And I know that he was like, deeply involved in like those communities at that time, and that's why his name or his handle on the message board was in the credits for the PC version that came out later.
That's so fun. That's cool. Really cool.
Yep.
So KOTOR 2, Knights of the Old Republic 2 was like released on Switch, and I think other platforms. I'm not. Maybe it didn't need to be. Maybe it already was like on most other platforms. But as part of the announcement trailer, they said that cut, the like deleted content mod, I guess like the restored content mod, would be coming to Switch as DLC in the future. And then just this past, yesterday, Alana posted this article from thegamer.com that says that on Aspire's like upload of the reveal trailer, they had mentioned they removed any mention of that content coming to Switch,
which means they changed the trailer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say they are no longer planning on bringing that content out as DLC.
Yeah. So when the video was first uploaded, it said the Sith Lord's restored content DLC will be available post launch as free DLC in the Nintendo eShop. But it doesn't say that anymore.
So a little bit of a quiet canceling of some DLC. We've actually seen a fair amount of this recently. The Marvel's Midnight Suns, the Switch version of that was canceled really without like a big to-do. It was just sort of like a side note on their like update on the release dates for the PS4 and Xbox One versions of it. And I am currently wondering, so in our predictions episode, I did bring up the Lord of the Rings Gollum is supposed to be coming to Switch at some point. That was, originally supposed to be day and date with everything else. They delayed it. But Lord of the Rings Gollum is just getting like absolutely savaged in reviews. So much so that the company put out like an apology, being like, "Sorry, our game's bad," which like you're not really right. Like that's the game they meant to make. It maybe isn't as good as it could have been. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It just goes in the pile of games I'm not actually interested in playing anymore. But I wonder how long they're going to string along the idea that there is a Switch version of this game and
Right.
that it's actually going to come out. And if they announce that they are, like in an effort to reduce bugs in the next generation versions of our game, we are canceling development on Switch or whatever. Or if they just stop talking about it.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be the latter. I think it'll be like
Me too.
Ubisoft and Steep, where
Yeah.
it's we just never hear from it ever again.
Or for the longest time, what was it? That pirate game?
Oh sure, Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones, yes, which then like came back and then was like delayed into oblivion again.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just not that long ago.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but that's was never going to be a Switch game. But it's DLC and then Marvel's Midnight Suns and this Lord of the Rings Gollum, which I suspect won't come out on Switch.
But I guess enough talk about in what we've been playing about stuff that we will never play.
Yes.
And time for some Tears of the Kingdom talk.
Let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom some more. Mark, where are you on your journey with this game?
Okay, so last week when we talked, I think I was saying maybe I'm going to do the story beats. Like I'm going
Sure.
to start following that path so I can, start gathering some more abilities. Also, just kind of a side note, when we initially after like the first episode we did after Tears of the Kingdom, we said that this was going to be like or Tears of the Kingdom released. We said that this was going to be like fairly spoiler free like segments. And I think that is we won't spoil like story beats partly because I haven't gotten there, but the more we're talking about it, it's like it's kind of hard to talk about our experiences without talking about like things that we experience in the game.
Yes.
So fair warning, I guess.
And we'll if there's like a specific thing that we're going to spoil, I think we'll probably project that.
Yeah, but like I'm going to talk
Pretty
about
clearly.
like a specific mission, and I guess tell me, Patrick, if you don't want to know. But basically, I did not do any of that. I did not follow the story path, even despite my best intention, because as is true of Breath of the Wild, and as is still true for Tears of the Kingdom, I intend to head that direction, and then I get distracted, and it sends me off doing something completely different.
Yeah, this game is the king of you set a goal on the horizon and you're like, I'm going to run towards that, or I'm going to fly towards that, or I'm going to ride a horse towards that, or ride this vehicle that I made towards that. And then 2 seconds later, you're like, but what is this thing over here?
So I finally did the mission to get the camera that like
great.
sends you into the depths, kind of gives you more context. And so I did that one, and then I did the kind of like follow-up mission where you have to find the have you done it, the second
I've
one?
not done the follow-up mission, but I feel free to tell me about it.
Okay, so you don't yet have like your wheel is not complete. Your
my
like power
wheel is not complete.
Okay, it is. I will say it is, in my opinion, very much worth your time to go complete it. Do you know what that last power is?
It's the auto builder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's total game changer.
Okay.
And
which incredible, by the way, that there are 4 like powers that make up the core of this game, all of which could be their own video game. And then there's yet other game changers on top of that.
And so I went and did that. And so I got all of that. And I was like, great. Now I really, for sure, am going to go do the story stuff. And then I saw the Great Plateau. And I was like, what's going on at the Great Plateau right now?
Yeah.
What has changed? And that sent me on another mission.
Did you encounter the Gloom Hand on? Have you encountered Gloom Hand?
I have encountered the Gloom Hand, but not. It was like by the that first sinkhole that they send you to is where I encountered the Gloom Hand.
I encountered it on the Great Plateau.
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
And it's the only time I've encountered it. I put a little skull on my map to be like, never go back here.
Yeah, I don't know if those are random. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
I have no idea.
Okay, so did you go to the Temple of Time ruins?
Yes.
And did you talk to goddess statue
Mm-hmm.
who has like the riddle and is like,
Yeah.
oh, like do this thing. So have you gone and done that yet?
I've not actually done it. No.
Okay, so that quest sent me on, and it like that's what's so incredible about this game is that I probably have spent. I'm not finished yet. I finally like uh um am like on a path to finish it, but it probably took me like just that by itself, like going to the goddess statue, figuring out what I was supposed to do next, and then doing the thing after that took me like has taken me like a good like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about this game is that it's just like this like weird little diversion that I'm doing that I'm sure something will happen at the end, but you know, it's not gonna
Yeah.
it'll basically just be like another side quest that I've completed.
Right.
And then I'm gonna have to figure out you know, like, okay, now I really am gonna go for the story quest again.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, I this weekend started like spending time putting the band back together and using the band members to wake up the Great Fairies.
Oh yes, yeah.
And
I've only done one of those.
okay, I've done I've got 3 band members and I've woken up 2 Great Fairies. But I love this little bit. First of all, these characters are phenomenal. The designs of them are so good. The little conductor guy as he like dances around is so cute. And like using them to unlock the Great Fairies, and then like having then I have like a new goal of like, oh, I can start upgrading armor, and then like I get a second one. I'm like, oh, I can do like the second level upgrades to my armor, but then I'm like, oh, I gotta find like 5 more red chew jellies, and it's like, okay, I'm going up to the volcano, and like every single thing that I do answers one question and asks 3 more, and then I can choose which of those 3 questions I want to answer, and then in doing so, I will get 3 more questions. Like,
Yep.
I think I mentioned it last week, but I love that exploring the sky gives you maps to points of interest in the depths. I love that the wells and caves are the only place to find luminous fruit that you need to explore the depths. So you need to explore the wells and the sky so you can explore the depths, and in the depths you can get zonite, which you can use to everything else. Like, it's everything feeds into each other in such a compelling and fun way, and so like naturally that you're like, I need to constantly be revolving between all these pieces.
Absolutely. And there was I also love how kind of like the game is really thoughtful in putting like markers, like a shrine or something in an area that is really hard for you to get to. And so there was one island in the sky that looks like a cube. And it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
And so and like I really wanted to figure it out, but I was like, so the way I got there was before I shot myself up in a sky tower, I made a bunch of stamina potions and elixirs. And so, like I tried it once, realized, oh, I don't have enough stamina. I have like a complete second stamina wheel, but it wasn't enough.
You're maxed out on stamina.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna need more elixir. And so I did that, and then I got there, and it's something that I can't enter yet. I tried to do the hand thing, and there was a big red X, like, nope, and a message saying you have to like do this before you can come here. But there was a shrine right in front of it, so it was like, well, you figured out how to get here, so next time
you can always come back.
You can always come back, and it's like super, it'll be like way easier. The other thing I wanted to say about my Tears of Kingdom experience this week is it made me realize, just like you were saying with the Great Fairy Fountains, and it's like this wheel of systems, and how like one feeds into the other and it just continues, is one system that I did not figure out, and I've been trying as much as possible not to like look at a guide or anything, but I looked this up. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this zonite? I don't get it. What is like zonite, and what is crystallizing zonite, and like what does that do?
So you can use crystallized zonite, and a lot of it, to upgrade your battery.
Yeah, it's like 100 crystal like zonite or whatever to get 1 more bar of battery.
Right. And that battery bar guy is at there is one of he may be all over the place, but there is one right outside of the like the outpost outside of like the landing outpost, whatever, that first like settlement that you go to where Pura and
Oh,
everyone is.
okay. I just went back to the Sky Island because
Oh,
there's
okay.
like, or the Great Sky Island. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like one there. But yeah, like I had run into these people, like the Smelders constructs
Yeah.
or whatever before, and I that is one where I feel like it's a lot to wrap your head around. I think
Yes,
where it's
I
like
agree.
Zonite can be turned into the like Zonite. They're not shards, but like
No,
those
they're like
orb things
yes.
that you can use in the gachapon machines
Mm-hmm.
to get Zonite tools, or they can be turned into these like crystals or
Right.
whatever. I can't remember. And then those crystals, you have to go somewhere else to turn them into like more battery power. But now that I get it, it's like, oh, okay, I understand what I should be doing with this Zonite. But before I was just like gathering all of it and not really understanding what the point was.
Right. What's crazy is like I'm so far away from having enough zonite and crystallized zonite to upgrade my battery at all. Let alone like you see some of these people who've been playing and like building things and they've got like 10 batteries.
Right,
You're
yeah.
like, wait a minute, what? How? But I mean, also there are people who put like over 100 hours in at this point. I have put in a ton of time this weekend. It's most of how I spent my day today, Monday, Memorial Day, and yesterday. And I just finished the Goron temple.
Oh, how was that?
It was fun. The I realized that I have to like retrain my brain whenever I go into a dungeon because I always my mind wants to approach them like linearly, like a Zelda dungeon, but they're still like Tears of the Kingdom areas, right? Like I should really just be thinking about like how do I get over there? How can I get over there?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the whole thing is like minecart based. So there's a lot of like you can hit switches to like move
Oh.
tracks and stuff. And at first I was like, okay, so I got to get over there and then like see what options I have, that'll probably trigger to whatever. But then I'm just like, no, you know what? I can climb. I can use rockets to propel myself. I can just like shield surf on like some of these rails. And as soon as I was like, because I was really kind of struggling with it for like maybe 45 minutes and like I got one of these switches in it. And then as soon as I was like, no, you know what? I'm just going to like goblin my way around this thing. Then I knocked the rest of them out real quick and got to the boss and had a great time. But it's just funny that like I forget that I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom in that moment, But yeah, it was fun. I think probably the lead up to the Wind Temple is still more fun, more satisfying than the lead up to or the Fire Temple itself. But I really enjoyed it and like I sort of put it down in the middle and then like I could not think about anything else until I got back to it, where it's just like it's just a present game in my brain kind of all the time.
The Goron one was my least favorite in Breath of the Wild,
Mhm.
so it tracks for me that it would not be as good as the Rito one in Tears of the Kingdom as well.
Yeah. I mean
Um,
the lead up to the Rito one in Tears of the Kingdom I think is super fun.
so have you done those two?
I've done those too. Yeah.
Okay, and then and this is I feel like the most spoilery of anything we've talked about so far. The second power that you
Mhm.
like get, is it cool? Is it fun?
I haven't used it yet. I mean,
Okay.
I used it in the temple.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But you have like a ghost like avatar or whatever like
yeah.
following you
Well,
around.
so just like in the Wind Temple, he's not a ghost on your like
Oh, sure,
approaching in
yeah,
the temple. He's
yeah.
actually there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the exact same thing happens where he's like, I'm gonna stay here and like help you, but like you have this thing to now you can summon, which one of us. So and like I still have the little bird boy following me as well. So like as I'm in this temple, there's like Bird and Goron like fighting alongside me.
Oh, okay. And so like you're what is it? like the D-pad. Is that I'm trying to think on the is
Yeah,
or no, it's not. It's like A.
It's A.
Yeah,
it's
so
like you just gotta like go over to him and push A. Yeah.
oh, so it's
To-
still
to
A
say-
for
to say let's go. Yeah.
for the Goron dude.
Mhm.
It's also A.
Well, I haven't run around with.
Oh,
Both of them
okay, okay. Just
in
because,
my
like,
employment,
yeah,
but yeah.
because there's 4, it made me want, and like, the right now the bird one is A for me, so I
Right.
wondered if like, it would be B or whatever for the Goron one.
I don't think so, but I mean we'll find out because it's while I was running around with the real Goron and the ghost bird, I would occasionally accidentally blow.
Oh, okay,
get
yeah,
the gust
yeah.
of wind, just because like you have to go up to the right one and say let's go, and then use their ability. Have you encountered a sage orb yet?
Those are the ones that you get on like the Sky Island, right?
Yeah.
and or on like certain Sky Islands.
I've
they will
only
have-
gotten one. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I have. I think you need 4. I don't know what to do something. I have 3.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
so you bring them to the goddess statue and like pray with them just as you would upgrade your hearts or
okay,
stamina.
got it.
And so it does something with your relationship to those powers.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is
I
either.
assume
No.
it's just faster recharge, but
Oh, I bet you're right.
maybe it's like a second string of powers. Like who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, I have 3.
Okay.
I still need 1 more. Also, I encountered up in the Sky Islands because anytime I don't generally go to the sky that much, except when I do a sky tower and then I see something and I'm
Mhm.
like, I gotta go check that out.
I just gotta go.
But you know the that cube monster construct.
Yeah.
That so I ran into like the level 2 version of that.
Sure.
And it is like, do you want me to tell you? Can I tell you what changed, or do you want
sure.
to?
I
Okay.
mean, I fought a level 3, but
Oh,
yeah.
you fought. Oh, I want to hear about that because,
Yeah.
like, so level 2, it does a lot of the same stuff, but then it goes into this state where it, the thing where it like becomes like flat and it's shooting cubes down at you.
Yeah.
So it does that, but it's doing it high up. So
Yeah.
you have to figure out how to get up.
Right.
So that way, because it'll just keep doing that until you've
I mean,
kind
you
of
just
like
ascend.
confronted it at it. Right. Or,
Yeah.
but it also, at least the one I did, had some other. No. It's too high. It's too far away to ascend.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Did
so
it have springs around?
It didn't have springs. What it had was, in the Sky Island, it has like the metal Zonai platforms.
Yeah.
It had those, and then Zonai
Oh.
tools, and you could figure out like, okay, am I gonna like, how am I going to use these
Right. To get up there.
to like get high enough? Because once you get high enough, it kind of like gets it out of that state, and
Yeah.
it goes back to the ground. But that threw me for a loop for a little bit because I was expecting it to like do that thing up there for a while, and then eventually it would come down by itself.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I had to like meet it on its own terms.
That's funny.
What is the level 3 like?
So it does that too, and then it also, does the level 1 do the thing where it just like turns into a cube and just like
Pounds
moves
around. Yeah.
So it did that, but so fast.
Oh.
Like so fast. It was extremely difficult. But I beat it, and this was the one I think I mentioned it last week that I didn't need to kill. But I did anyway. Like it had the like crystal in it that I needed to bring over to the shrine.
Oh.
And you could just knock it off with a bomb arrow and then grab it and run away. And I did that and was like, I put the shard down and was like, now we fight. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could talk about this game forever. Have you been to our Loreline Village yet? The
No,
seaside
I
village
haven't.
beset
I
by
have
pirates?
not done anything. Basically, I haven't gone anywhere on the east side of the map.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I haven't gone to like. There's a bunch of people that they want me to go to Hateno Village.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to
been
Hateno
yet either.
I haven't been to Kakariko Village.
Mm.
Like there's still so much of this.
So much of
I mean,
this
and
game, yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm still on the Great Plateau, being like, what changed on the Great Plateau?
Right.
And trying to figure out this the goddess shrine thing, so I can. And that one's kind of cool. The other thing, because you were asking about Zonite or talking about Zonite, going into the depths, it's not like you get a lot of Zonite down there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I have yet to like set goals for myself in the depths. The couple times I've been down there, I'm always just like, let's explore a little bit, and then I get like overwhelmed
Yeah.
or like sometimes a little bored because it's not as good as you kind of got to go down there with a mission. For it
that's
to be
how I feel about the
interesting.
Sky Islands too. I kind of
Oh,
get
that's
bored
interesting.
pretty quickly.
but like the main land of Hyrule is still so compelling, and like kind of freshly so. And there are still huge parts of it that I haven't been. I haven't seen the Zora. I haven't even
And
seen a Zora.
I
yet.
think there's a big. I mean, I guess you went to the Goron one, so tell me. But it looks like over the Zora one, there's like a big storm.
There's a storm or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know I'm so.
I got
like,
caught in that storm at one point
Oh,
because
cool.
I was exploring like the jungle area down
Uh-huh.
there, and got like launched into the sky and was like floating over to something and was like getting into the side of the storm, and just basically everything goes dark and there's just like lightning and stuff, and I was like,
That is cool.
dive out of here. But yeah, it's impossibly cool. Everything about it is. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it. I felt the same way as you about the depths. I again recommend doing that like next mission
Yeah.
when you are ready to do more in the depths, because it does give you a little bit more direction where you're like, oh, like I kind of like I get how to explore down here, like kind of what the goal is, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, and also like as I access more of the Sky Islands and get more of the gotchas and have just like a bigger variety of zonite equipment, zonai equipment, the more free I feel to like actually explore. Because some of those, they're just like sheer cliff walls and stuff like that, where I'm just like, this is impossible to get around and I can't see anything. But if you got more zonai equipment, then it's not so bad. All right. We can stop talking about Tears of the Kingdom for a little bit. It's just, I am every time I play it and like every hour I put into it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is. I'm like more assured that it's like a stone cold classic that we'll be talking about forever. And like I just think about like the number of things that Breath of the Wild established as like, this is what Zelda is now. You know, like we have these 4 different like types of people. They're all in the game. And like yeah, climb everything. Yeah, that's part of Zelda now. This huge open world and like not really any specific direction that you have to go in. That's part of Zelda now. And I wonder if there are there's a world beneath the world. That's part of Zelda now. There are islands in the sky. That's part of Zelda now. You can build whatever you want. That's part of Zelda now. It feels like a sea change on the same order of magnitude as those changes in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's incredible. I just can't get over the amount of stuff that I'm like doing in the game and being entertained by in the game, and how little of the game I've actually, or like little of the map anyways, that I have actually encountered.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to be like, I may have 50 hours in at this point, and I have maybe half the map uncovered. Mark, that's enough talking about what we have been playing. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
On Thursday, June 1st, Etrian Odyssey HD, Etrian Odyssey 2 HD, and Etrian Odyssey 3 HD are all released on Switch.
And again, Thursday is June 1st.
Yes. Crazy. And then on Friday, We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie is released on Switch. I have not played this game. The only Katamari game I've played was the re-release on Switch from a couple of years ago, maybe like 2019.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. And I do think I'm going to buy this. Probably, I mean, I don't think I'm going to play it right now. It's all Tears of the Kingdom for me currently. But maybe I'll wish list it for when it like goes on sale.
That's a good idea. Because it will.
Yeah, but I am excited for this to be there. I have one of the things I really loved about the Katamari Damacy release on Switch, or at least I think it's the same, is the soundtrack. Yeah. And I'm very excited for listening to the soundtrack to this one.
That's a good point.
The first one's like really eclectic. It has some like J-pop, some jazz. It has just like a bunch of different things in it. All of them very good, and I'm very excited to kind of see what the soundtrack is like for this one.
Does it feel like we're still in that like Tears of the Kingdom hangover as far as like game releases on Switch are concerned? That
it does for me, definitely. Yeah. You know, like I feel like if you didn't pick up Tears of the Kingdom, you are not really into Zelda games, like whatever, or you plan to pick it up later, whatever it is, it's like, yeah, I could see, pick, and you are eagerly anticipating Nintendo games, Pikmin 4 is still a ways out.
Yeah.
But it just feels like Tears of the Kingdom is still just sucking up all the energy.
Yeah.
It certainly is for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me too. Not just like in games I want to play, but just like in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, well,
but like it could become one.
Yeah, I mean, to that note, like have been playing. I made a real valiant effort to put some time into Super Metroid this weekend.
Oh yes.
Because we're going to be on the Super Gamer Boys podcast talking about it.
Yep.
And
I'm gonna speedrun that tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say like but it was like a conscious like okay, and now I am closing Breath of the Wild the first time Tears of the Kingdom. The first time I have done that, I think, since that game came out. And I'm gonna boot up Super Metroid, but it was hard while I was playing Super Metroid to not just always be thinking about going back to Tears of the Kingdom.
And there we are. I guess that was the new releases. That was us still talking about Tears of the Kingdom. Mark, let's close out this segment. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo or talking about Tears of the Kingdom. For the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, last week you had me guess the 10 best-selling board games. On some crazy website. I'm going to take us to a different crazy website and make you guess a 10 something. We're going to Ranker, and what are the top 10 most popular and fun card games?
Popular and fun.
Popular and fun, yes.
So, and Ranker is the website where like people vote?
People vote, yes. So this is all user generated. The 10th place game has 18,000 votes.
Okay.
So it is worth noting that it's not like definitive by any means, but that's almost 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So yes, the most fun and popular card games. And this casting a wide net here because like this could be like games that you play with like regular playing cards.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up question. Yeah. Okay, all right.
And I did describe this list as deranged earlier.
Okay, I am going to start with Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em number 8 on the list.
Okay. All right. Hearts.
Hearts not in the top 10.
Okay.
Hearts number 13.
Okay. Old Maid.
Ooh, Old Maid. Here's the thing. I feel like Old Maid is a fun game for like kids. And I don't think kids are voting on these things on the internet.
I don't. I've never played Old Maid, and I don't know how it works. Yeah, because I'm gonna similarly say that like Go Fish is not on there.
Yeah, Go Fish is not in the top 10. Go Fish is 22.
What about War?
War is not in the top 10. It is number 14.
Okay. I actually don't really know that many game. Or how about Blackjack?
Blackjack
is that
is
count?
number 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it counts.
Okay. I'm trying to, 5-card stud. I really just know.
Number 1 is
poker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So we can kind of count that.
Weird that Texas Hold'em is
has
its own
as a
distinct
separate entity is number 8 and poker is number 1.
Okay. All right. So that basically exhausts my knowledge of, or maybe Bridge. I don't know. Is Bridge on there?
Bridge is not in the top 10. Hold on. I did see it. Bridge.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Okay. Do you remember in my newspaper growing up, there was like the syndicated comics, and then there was like a bridge thing. It was like showing bridge hands. I don't understand it at all. Okay, now I'm moving off of playing cards because I don't know any more games there that I can think of off the top of my head. So how about Uno?
Uno is number 2 on the list.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, Rook? Or like Rook cards?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Oh, that's so funny.
And
so
I don't see it anymore.
We like growing up, like Rook. We had Rook decks. We had like so many of them. Okay. How about Phase 10?
No, Phase 10 is not in the top 10.
Okay, how about Skipbo?
Skipbo is not in the top 10, but it is up here somewhere. I saw it. Oh, Phase 10 is number 18.
Okay.
Skipbo is number 23. Can I tell you what number 3 is?
Because you're gonna have to, because I'm never gonna guess it.
You are never gonna guess it, because it is Exploding Kittens.
I don't know what that is. Is it like a Cards Against Humanity type thing?
So Cards Against Humanity is number 5.
Okay,
but yeah, it is similar to that.
Right.
Yeah.
What about, is Apples to Apples a card game?
Apples to Apples is number 9.
Oh,
no, number 10. Sorry.
Okay, I would not necessarily think of that as a card game, but I guess it is. It's facilitated by cards.
Yeah, I feel like it's a party game, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you conceptually. They're not card games, but they do occupy Cards Against Humanity number 5, Apples to Apples number 10.
Okay. I think I have.
I'll share the rest of the of
Yeah.
the top 10 with you. So number 1 was poker, number 2 was Uno, number 3 is Exploding Kittens, sure. Number 4, spoons.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Number
As the older I get, the more I'm like, spoons is really dangerous.
It is. 5 is Cards Against Humanity. 6 was Blackjack, which you guessed. 7 is Rummy.
Okay.
8 was Texas Hold'em. 9 was Spades.
Oh, okay.
And 10 was Apples to Apples. But that seems deranged to me. That those 3 party games are in the top 10.
Yeah, I would. Like I said, don't necessarily think those as card games, but I didn't know there was a game called Spades. And why is that different from Hearts?
I don't know. Number 11 was Speed.
Ah, okay.
And number 12 is Magic the Gathering, which is...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about,
is
Pokemon
Magic
the trading card game in there?
I don't know, I closed it, but we'll never know.
We really won't.
Okay, we were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news. I didn't say it in the segment, but you did a good job of guessing that.
Thank you. Well, back in March, yes, my voice did just crack.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Back in March, the developers of the Dolphin emulator, which is a emulator for GameCube and Wii games, announced that it would be listed on Steam in the future, and that did not end up happening.
Right.
So what was originally reported is that Nintendo sent a DMCA notice to Steam asking them to take down the listing for the Dolphin emulator, but further reporting and Pierre Bourdon from on Mastodon, who is the treasurer for Dolphin, at least for the next month or something. He was already stepping down, but and his status there doesn't have anything to do with what he was saying, but
except spilling the tea on the way out, right?
Well, no, his disclaimer is he's not officially involved with Dolphin anymore.
Yeah.
And technically the treasurer still for a month, but otherwise not involved. But basically, what his understanding of what happened is that Dolphin had their intention to publish the emulator on Steam. There are emulators already on Steam.
Yes.
So Dolphin had the intention of publishing on Steam. Valve Legal reached out to Nintendo of America to be like, hey, how do you feel about this? And Nintendo apparently replied to Valve saying, we think it's a bad idea and that it would violate the DMCA anti-circumvention provisions. And basically please take it down. And
yes.
Valve Legal at that point, even though they don't have to, but Valve Legal at that point said, okay, and they took it down.
Right, Valve being like, we don't need this fight.
And then they sent Nintendo of America's reply to the Dolphin Foundation. And so I feel like emulation, basically what I think is nobody here wants this to go to wants to push this.
Right,
I don't think anybody here wants this to go to trial because the outcome could be anything, and I don't think anybody wants to risk. I don't think anybody wants to risk it.
Right.
I don't think Nintendo wants to risk it because the court could find that what Dolphin is doing is totally is completely legal and there's no issues with
Right.
it, and that would be bad. Dolphin Foundation probably doesn't want to push it because they don't want to court and have it be found that what they are doing is illegal. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So I think all of the emulation stuff is in this real gray area where most of the time companies look the other way. My understanding, and I am definitely this would be a great thing for somebody who knows more to like write in to debug on, because I'm definitely not an expert. My understanding is that it had part of the problem with Dolphin, and it was a decision made like 15 years ago that like other emulators do not have, is this like specifically includes like the encryption key or something for like Wii software, and that is what Nintendo could say is copyrightable.
Oh, sure.
And that is
that
what
there is
they
some proprietary technology.
exactly
Got it.
exactly within Dolphin. But I am definitely not a subject matter expert. I don't know enough to understand like the intricacies of all this, or why like other emulators that are on Steam are fine even if they run something like Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, what is interesting about Nintendo, like, I mean, the whole thing is interesting, but like what's kind of especially interesting or kind of like head scratching about this is like there is no marketplace on which Nintendo is currently selling GameCube games,
Right.
or Wii games, right? Like there is the odd Wii or GameCube game that gets remade, but like that's an extremely rare occurrence, and so like they're not missing out on. Everyone could pirate all the GameCube games there are, and like the opportunity cost to Nintendo is effectively nothing. Even in terms of like subscriptions to Nintendo Switch Online, like none of those games are even available there. So like what they're defending their right to sell exclusively, they're not selling at all.
Right. I mean, I guess I don't know.
I mean, I also get it in the abstract too. Like you defend a copyright of something, even if you're not planning on, even if you're not making anything with it right now, even if you're not selling it right now, because you may want to in the future, and because then it strengthens the copyright. If you have a copyright and you don't defend it, and there's evidence of you not defending it, then the copyright can go away. So it's you don't want to be put in a position where like your intellect, the thing that you sell, could be like taken away from you. You don't want to be put in that position either.
I feel like and again, I'm not like, I know basically nothing about the emulation scene.
Yeah.
But I feel like most companies are really hands off. And so it's interesting, like it feels like a special, in this case kind of like a bad way, like special case that like I wonder what would have happened if Valve had not reached out to Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Like would Nintendo have pursued it, or would it have just been like, would Dolphin have just gone up? You know what I mean? Because it feels, again, it feels like such a gray area that nobody really wants to test the boundaries of what is okay and not okay. Because I'm not sure that anybody would like the answers.
Right. Well, and I feel like so much emulation that I don't really do, and I, like you, I'm not really part of that emulation scene or like an expert on it. But most people that I know that do this kind of thing do it as like curiosity. Like they want to experience a game, not like to beat it or because they were going to buy it, but like just out of curiosity, just as like I want to see what this game is like.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if I ever want to play like Mother 3 in the future, that like
you would have
emulation is like the way to do it, with like a fan translation and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a really small, in the grand scheme of things, but dedicated like people who are enthusiasts who are like, I love Dolphin or similar things because I want to be able to run GameCube games at like 60 frames per second at crazy resolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just feels like it can't be enough of a market that it would be like that much of a risk, to like Nintendo. But like you said, they're not selling these games anywhere right now anyways, so it can't be the monetary
right.
Like a risk to them.
Right. It's just sort of like
for the reason for them to like crack down on something.
Exactly.
Well, kind of related, the Nintendo 3DS received a new system update last week, And the main functionality of this update appears to be disabling a common method of homebrew hacking on the system. Nintendo's official release notes basically just say stability improvements.
Just stability improvements, nothing to see here, just more stable now.
But like you were saying, Patrick, Nintendo doesn't sell Nintendo 3DS games on the eShop anymore. You know, like you cannot buy through official Nintendo channels 3DS games.
Right. So like, what do they care what people are doing with it?
Yeah. It does kind of feel sort of petty.
It feels petty. It feels petty more than anything. I mean, I know that like this update came along, and then I saw like a day later people were like, "We have a workaround for it." Like, so you know, it's never count the hacking community out, right? But it is like, why did you bother? Why would you bother? Like, it could only be stopping people from buying games on like the secondhand market. And it's like, why would you want? Why do you care?
Right. Yeah. Well, last week, PlayStation rather had a showcase where they showed off over 30 new games coming to PlayStation platforms over the next 2 years. Some of those games are also coming to Xbox, and a couple of those games revealed are also coming to Switch.
A literal 2 of them.
Yeah, that's right. One is Cat Quest, Pirates of the Caribbean, in 2024, and then Neva in 2024 from the developers of Gris.
I want to talk about the pun in Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't like it. How do you feel about it?
State your objection.
My objection is that it feels like a visual pun because the 2 R's in purr match up with the 2 R's in Caribbean.
I'm imagining like Eartha Kitt's Catwoman saying Caribbean, and I like that very much.
It works for you?
It does work for me. In that specific instance, if I'm watching the 1960s Batman TV series and Eartha Kitt as Catwoman,
then that's fine. And she's talking about her favorite rides at Disney.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
You watched the PlayStation Showcase. You are a PlayStation 5 owner. What did you think in general? I know it's not a PlayStation podcast, but I'm just curious your thoughts.
I didn't really care for it. I thought I'm excited about Spider-Man like everybody else. I feel like Spider-Man showed kind of strangely. It started with like a cinematic thing of like Kraven the Hunter in the jungle, and it's just like, that's not Spider-Man to me. You know, like a man hunting another man through like the sweaty trees of, you know what? I was like, no thanks. And then like you get to the actual action, and I was like, okay, this is fun, but felt very much like the scene in Spider-Man that we saw ahead of its release of the Sinister Six escaping from the raft, which happens like maybe 60% of the way through that game. So I'm anticipating that what we see in this Spider-Man 2 trailer is also like a scene from like pretty late in the game. And I'm just like, yeah, that wasn't my favorite part of that game either. So like kind of showing another like on rails like kind of set piece moment of the game. It's not really why I go to Spider-Man anyway. So I thought that trailer looked great. The game will be fun. But it's always a lesson for me when watching any showcase that isn't a Nintendo showcase, where it's just like, oh yeah, maybe most of video games aren't being marketed to me anyway. Like, just so many of these VR games had like guns in them, and I'm just like, who has this fantasy where like you want to be in the eyes of a gunman running around shooting people? Seems nuts. I don't like it. And then just a lot of like kind of similarly like gray and brown games with like similar dour aesthetics. And then I went home and played Tears of the Kingdom and was like, here we go. This was the medicine I needed.
What is the name? Oh, first of all, when does the Spider-Man sequel come out? Is it this year?
We don't know. This year.
Oh, okay. Got it. And then what was the name of the Square Enix like Splatoon?
Yes, it's like foam stars.
Foam stars, yeah.
Which even in that, like, it manages to a game that is effectively trying to be Splatoon as hard as possible without like the squids. Even that like looks to like the look of it is like kind of dour and like not fun. Splatoon looks and sounds so cool, and this Foam Stars doesn't. So I don't know. And then all of that sort of adds up for me to the handheld thing that Sony is
Oh,
developing,
right.
which is just a remote play machine. So it looks like a DualSense controller, like glued onto broken in half and glued onto a screen, and all it does is do remote play from your PS5. So you can play any game that you have on your PS5 as long as the PS5 and this machine are hooked up to Wi-Fi.
Got it.
And then you're literally streaming it off that machine, which feels like they can't. It's not even doing like its own game streaming, right? Like you can't through like the PS Plus. Like if they, I don't even know, they used to on PlayStation Now have game streaming. And so I don't actually know if that's still a function of that service. But you can't do that on this thing without the PlayStation 5 being like an intermediary step.
I wonder because they keep teasing like a re-entry into kind of like cloud gaming, and I wonder if it will. They just haven't talked about it yet because they haven't talked about whatever their next cloud gaming thing is.
I mean that would be interesting. It's weird for them not to
Announce it all together if that was going to be the case. Yeah.
Like why bother announcing that this thing is just a remote play machine? I don't know, it's a mind-bogglingly narrow product, which is a Sony move, right? Like that they do like to do that, and I didn't mean to invoke PlayStation Move in saying that. But yeah, I mean it's a hyper niche product. I'm sure someone will play it and get some use out of it, but like outside of the use case of like taking your game into bed with you,
Right.
like you might with a Switch. I don't know why you would get this thing. And what's the price point going to be? Because a PlayStation DualShock controller is like $80 already. So it's got to start there plus a screen and some guts. So like what's the appropriate price point for this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Yes, it will.
Takasha Tokita, the director of Live Alive, revealed in an interview with Famitsu that there was a sequel to the Super Famicom RPG classic in the works during the Nintendo DS era.
Which is very cool.
Yeah. He says, quote, "We had tried to plan a sequel, but it was hard to display the passion of Live Alive fans to the company, and so we ended up in an impasse."
Which fair play, because Live Alive is a game that I've only like heard before the HD version was released or revealed, I guess. It was a game that I had like heard spoken of in whispers in various corners of like the game's media, but like I didn't know it as like a game that had like a fan base,
right?
So much as just like a few weirdos on podcasts that would talk it up.
And then Takeda went on to explain how much he felt the HD 2D presentation went toward making the remake so successful. Quote, "Keeping the impression of the Super Nintendo era while modernizing it was a big factor. We had also thought about doing a full 3D remake instead, but we considered the fans and decided that it wouldn't be quite what they wanted."
Which is insightful, because like I loved Live Alive when we played it and it came out last year. Last year? Whenever it came out, who cares? And having that experience of like, we have found a new 16-bit Super Nintendo RPG was a big part of the joy of it for me. And if they had just like done it up with like fresh new 3D graphics, I don't think I would have had that same joy.
Totally. That's why we haven't heard much about it recently, but like Dragon Quest 3 with that HD 2D.
Yes.
I feel like HD 2D is so he's exactly right that HD 2D is so good at kind of like capturing the spirit of those 16-bit platforms.
Mm-hmm.
In a recent interview with Nintendo Dream, several of the main creative forces of Fire Emblem Engage gave some insight into the difference between Engage and the earlier Switch release, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yes, and this is fascinating.
Yes. Co-producers Genki Yokata and Masahiro Higuchi spoke on the intentionality of the difference. Yokata says, "So one of the themes was to do things differently from Three Houses." Higuchi: "The last game, Three Houses, was planned with the idea of making an adult war chronicle. On the other hand, Engage was made with the idea of broadening our audience, such that even people who have never tried Fire Emblem would want to pick it up." It's been over 10 years since Awakening, so we also thought of making another Fire Emblem that would appeal to a wide audience.
And this is nuts.
It's so crazy.
Because it feels like the reverse.
Yeah.
Three Houses, and I think the numbers probably support this.
Uh-huh.
Fire Emblem Three Houses was a crossover outside of Fire Emblem success. I think if Engage sold better than the 3DS versions, it is on the success of Three Houses. Three Houses feels like more old Fire Emblem-y than Three Houses did.
Yeah, and Engage is so I didn't play a lot of it, but the very kind of like idea of these emblems that is that what they were called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That were all characters from old Fire Emblem games. It just feels so circular to me. Like, how is a newcomer what? How does this broaden the audience? It just feels so backwards.
Yeah. Engage was made with the idea of broadening our audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, who am I to say otherwise?
I mean,
but I would say
just don't know.
mission not accomplished.
No, I would say mission. What's the opposite of accomplished? I mean, no shade on Engage. I really liked it. But yeah, that's a wild take.
And then co-directors Kentaro Nakanishi and Tsutomu Tai on the more straightforward streamlined structures. Nakanishi says, as for the flow of the game, we've tried a lot of different things, such as the 2 versions of Fates where you side with different countries, or 3 houses where you choose your class, and this time we went with an orthodox single route. Tai says, it was because of this decision that I was appointed as director. I wasn't very involved in Fire Emblem games after Awakening. However, even from an outsider perspective, I deeply felt that Awakening was a game that revolutionized the series, and so I worked on this project with the same feelings of wanting to create a new Fire Emblem.
This is a much more level-headed take that makes sense to me. That there was a recent history of Fire Emblem games being formally adventurous, adventurous in their form, and that this game is very specifically not that. And I think it succeeds in being a linear, a very linear, normal Fire Emblem game. So this is insight that I like and agree with.
Can I, in Engage, are you able to? I mean, before the game was released, we were joking like, it's all about rings. It's, like the Engage is in the title.
Yeah.
Like, is romancing part of something you can do? Like,
yeah,
jokingly, Fire Emblem got popular with Awakening when you could have waifus. Like, is that a mechanic in Engage?
It is. It's not to the same extent as it is in like Awakening, or I mean, you can get married in 3 houses, right?
I don't think so.
No, maybe you're right.
Well, you can just like take them to tea.
You can just take them to tea, right? And just like all those characters are so charming, and you know them all from the beginning.
I think you can become like best friends with somebody or something, but it's not.
Right.
It's not the same.
I will become best friends with Claude. Yeah, I mean it is not. I mean all really for my money, all of these games, with the exception of Awakening and really just Awakening, the like romantic relationships are not that well supported. Like, you have to do a lot of the shipping in your head, which the game gives you tons of ammo to do that. But yeah, it's a Awakening where you can like genuinely pair the characters and have their offspring travel back in time and join your team. Where it like
that's cool.
Feels meaningful, and like you have these like family units running around, and who you pair together determines what that family is. Most of the characters from the future only have mothers assigned to them. Who the father is like whoever you pair up with that. So like it's very cool in that way. But I think all the games are sort of missing a sort of like active romance. Like romance is sort of the like that's a lot of headcanon.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the case. A new Dragon Quest Monsters game was announced last week as part of a Dragon Quest Monsters 25th anniversary video.
Which means Dragon Quest Monsters, as a series within Dragon Quest, has been around for 25 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. The new game was announced as in development for Switch. No date, no window, and no other platforms mentioned.
Plus, the trailer's all in Japanese, so who even knows if it's going to come outside of Japan.
Dragon Quest Treasures, which came out last December to pretty good reviews, or last end of last year. Started out as a monsters game and then transformed into something else. Oh, I didn't see that was literally the next bullet point.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And phrased almost the exact same way.
Yep. The last Dragon Quest Monsters game that came out in North America was 2011's Dragon Quest Monster Joker 2 for Nintendo DS. So it has been a while.
Yeah, it has been over a decade. There was another one that came out in Japan, and then there were 2 phone games that I believe were also Japanese only. But so yeah, it's is it fair to say that it's been like kind of a dormant series when Treasures was kind of a Dragon Quest Monsters game? I don't know.
And finally, Front Mission 2 Remake has been delayed. The game was originally going to come out in June, but developer Forever Entertainment has decided to put off releasing on that schedule to, quote, ensure that they have sufficient time to add as many functionalities as possible while proceeding with proper implementation and tests in order to meet player expectations for a modern-day remake.
So my question is, are we just starting the clock to be like, when? Because the Front Mission games are originally Square Enix games. They're like mech tactical games. The first one came out. The second one is now being delayed with no specific new release date. And they had teased at some point the third one coming at some point. First question, is the third one coming out? Second question, is the second one coming out?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes these delays become a death spiral. Like, I mean, I don't know how often it happens, but the reason I'm thinking about it is recently Ubisoft, that like Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake that's been troubled, they basically just said, we're working on it, but don't expect it anytime soon type thing, which is that a quiet cancellation. This one, I feel like I would say more likely it comes out than Lord of the Rings Gollum.
On Switch.
Yeah, on Switch. Yep.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, if for no other reason than Square Enix puts out games.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they will find a way to put the game out.
Yep.
But 3, I don't know about 3. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Don't forget, you can join our Discord. All you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.